Paintings can offer us powerful glimpses into the Christian story. They can be like storybook illustrations that bring home the meaning of a moment. But the text of Scripture requires interpretation to faithfully portray the meaning of these moments of the scriptural story. An artist has to make decisions about how to show on the canvas what's not defined on the page. In this way, an artist is a bit like a preacher who makes Scripture vivid during the sermon. They can do this well, they can do it poorly, do it faithfully or inaccurately. The painter also has to interpret the text in ways that bring out meanings or different possible meanings. Let's take one example. Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac is one of the most famous passages in the Old Testament. Genesis 22 describes the famous scene, the testing of Abraham with the call to sacrifice Isaac as an offering. After a three-day journey, Abraham binds Isaac on top of an altar of wood carried by his son up the mountain and prepares him for the sacrifice. But as we read in the story, the Lord provides a substitute, a ram in the thicket, and so Isaac is not sacrificed. The text is unclear about how old Isaac is. He's a lad, but this is used to refer to Ishmael in Genesis 21, who's at least 13, and can refer to young men, such as Absalom in 2 Samuel 14. So the text is unclear about how old Isaac is. He's clearly old enough to carry the wood for burning, and he can't be older than 37, based on the age when Sarah died. So commentators often place him in the young man range, between 18 and 37. But this is a speculative question, really. For the artist, however, it's an unavoidable question. Isaac must be some age in the picture. So how old should he be? Andrea del Sarto's 1528 painting shows us a frightened young boy. Likewise, Filippo Brunelleschi's 15th century door portrays a much smaller and weaker Isaac compared with his adult father. These portrayals lean into the horrific specter of child sacrifice that plagued the ancient world, which was forbidden in Jewish practice. The meaning of the scene is affected by the artist's decision to age Isaac younger, making him an involuntary participant. However, Lorenzo Ghiberti's competing door panel on the same cathedral shows an adult, muscled young man who could easily have stood up to his father, in the same way that Absalom does to David in 2 Samuel 14. This decision changes the meaning and feeling of the scene. Ghiberti's Isaac is less of a victim and more of a willing sacrifice, one who must go along with the binding. Other decisions must be made that are not addressed in the text. Caravaggio's 1603 painting of the sacrifice of Isaac is interesting on this account. Let's look at it. What's the mood of this scene? Frightening. Caravaggio shows a stern-faced, dark-eyed Abraham and a horrified Isaac, just moments from being killed with a sharp knife. Isaac's head is held down forcibly, and the nearby ram looks on as if eager to take his place and spare him. The painting leans into the terror of the scene. On the other hand, Rubens' 1612 portrayal gives us a mature Isaac, serenely submitting to the sacrifice, and an Abraham that looks mournful and surprised and perhaps relieved at the interruption of the angel. This choice by the artist changes the entire moment and suggests a different possible meaning. Here, robed in cloth and in possession of manhood, Isaac looks more like a Christ figure. The scene leans into the text echo of the sacrifice of the one and only Son of God, a willing offering. Here we have theologically a whole bunch of elements coming together. The damage of creation, redemption initiated in the Old Testament, and the promise of a redemption yet to be accomplished through the willing sacrifice of a son. This is not to say that Rubens is right and Caravaggio is wrong, but rather that picturing the biblical scene requires not just artistic skill, but also theological interpretation. These pictures should make us think about the text and its meaning, but also about different possible meanings. They're windows, but different windows, into the story, and they cause us to wrestle and think about God's redemptive work as well.